Yo, what's good people? So if you clicked on this video, I'm assuming you're a pretty big fan of Battlegrounds, so I thought it would be a fun idea to go over who I think the 25 best Battleground champions are in the entire game, as someone who has completed everything the game mode has to offer. Now keep in mind, this isn't the 25 best Battleground champions for any specific meta, this is just overall the 25 best Battleground champions in the game, the best ones to rank up, the ones that will be included in most people's decks most seasons. So without further ado, let's jump into the list. And coming in at number 25 is Juggernaut, who once upon a time was pretty much the best Battlegrounds champion in the entire game, but with the introduction of much more complicated defenders that have unavoidable damage, a lot more defenders coming in with non-damaging debuffs, which completely turns off Juggernaut. He has lost a step. There's a lot of metas in Battlegrounds he doesn't work as well, but any meta that this guy does work, any defender he works against, he pretty much is the best, the fastest option. So I do believe he still deserves a spot on this list. Now coming in at number 24 is a champion that always goes away for a while, then has a resurgence, and that is Havoc. Now Havoc is the type of champion where he will be really OP for one or two specific metas in Battlegrounds on defense, and then he'll go away for a while, and then he'll come back a few months later and be really OP again. And we've seen a resurgence of him again with the Battle Realm Brawl, showing how capable on defense he can be. He's also a pretty underrated attacker as well, a decent counter to tricky defenders like Captain Britain, Onslaught. Not the fastest out there, but there are a few meta tricky defenders which he can handle. But overall, he's just a really solid tanky defender, where even if you get a good counter to him that has access to an armor up buff so you don't take detonation damage, he can still be really tanky because he synergizes with an equity, puts a ton of debuffs on you, and takes a while to take down. So at number 23 we have Photon, which I'm sure a few people will be surprised that she's not higher up on the list, but with the surgence of nuke attackers coming into the game, Photon is not nearly as strong on defense as she once was. Don't get me wrong, that's not me calling her bad whatsoever, she's still an incredible defender. However, in high tier Battlegrounds especially, 9 times out of 10 when you draft Photon, the opponent is going to have a very strong nuke option for her, like a Koye, Crossbone, Starkey, and a lot of the time you try to place her on defense, she ends up getting nuked. She is a relatively good attacker, just not the fastest out there. If you can catch your opponent without a good Photon counter, she's still an absolute menace on defense and is at the very least going to stall the opponent if she doesn't absolutely obliterate them with a unblockable, undexable special attack. But nowadays, she's not nearly as scary on defense as she once was. And while she is a versatile attacker, she doesn't handle a ton of super tricky defenders, and she's not the fastest. Okay, so number 22 I am putting Zola, and he's very similar to Photon in terms of defense. There's a lot more nuke attackers that can handle Zola very fast nowadays, like Cull Obsidian, Carolina, Deathless Thanos of course, but what puts Zola ahead of Photon for me is the fact that he handles trickier defenders than she does. Like for example, Zola is a fantastic counter to Jean Grey, Captain Britain, who there really isn't that many great counters for in the game, and Captain Britain is one of the best defenders out there at the moment. So I think that really gives Zola the edge over Photon. If you want to see how truly underrated on attack this man is, I made a showcase on him, so go and check that out. But yeah, he's just a great, reliable dual-use champion for Battlegrounds. Now moving on to number 21 is a direct counter to Zola, Carolina Dean. Now she's not exactly the best counter to many defenders, but she's incredibly versatile. She's kind of like a new age Gallon, but I think she's better than Gallon because she's a bit faster than him, And that glancing mechanic she has just handles so many annoying mechanics of tricky defenders. Like for example, you can glance the bleeds of Bullseye's special 1, you can glance photon special attacks, which means you can block her special 1 in pure light form and it will do no damage, and you can even block Serpent special attacks and they deal no damage. So at number 20 we have Jack-O-Lantern, who is a absolute mutant nuker. He is probably the best Captain Britain counter out there right now, who is a massive problem. Any mutant, he just nukes in a single special 2. And he's pretty underrated for a lot of defenders outside of the mutant class as well. Like for example, he's a really safe solar counter, not the fastest out there, but he does take him very well. The only thing that holds this guy back is that he's really not that good on defense in most circumstances. So coming in at 19 is basically the science version of Jack-O-Lantern. He does what Jack does to mutants, but against mystic champions, Human Torch. But what puts Torch above Jack-O-Lantern for me is that even when you can't ramp up Torch's smolders, you still do pretty insane damage. So he's just way more versatile than Jack-O-Lantern in most cases. I was considering putting Jack above him just for the fact that he's one of the best Captain Britain counters. However, I think Torch just takes so many more defenders better than Jack-O-Lantern does that I had to give him the spot above him. But it was a close call for sure. So coming in at the number 18 spot is Nicholas Fury. Now, of course, we all know how good this guy is on defense. He has 2 lives, so at the very least, he's pretty much a guaranteed stall unless your opponent gets someone that can cancel that second life, like Deadpool X-Force, or God forbid Danny Moonstar, but no one's running her, so I mean, like, yeah. But Nick Fury is also pretty underrated on attack, especially since the skip special 3 button has been added to the game. There's many annoying defenders Nick can take, like Kindred, Spider-Woman. He's even a half decent Serpent counter. Obviously his main use is on defense, but he is a sneaky good attacker as well. That's very safe to use because of course if you get hit in the face, if you take any unavoidable damage, you can just get pushed to your second life and finish the fight at 100% health that way. And since the skip special 3 button has been added, he's even faster now, because when you get to that special 3 in the second life, you can just hit that skip special 3 button and matches just end so much faster because of that. So that really has buffed him on attack a little. So at number 17 is Cull Obsidian, and he is basically like a mini 7-star Cosmic Ghost Rider. There are a lot of defenders that he cannot take. Like, there's many armor break immune champions like Sentinel, Thing. He's not going to take like Nico. He's not really that good for Serpent. There are a lot of defenders which Cull Obsidian isn't good for, but like Juggernaut, the matchups he does take, he is one of the very fastest options for, and I do think he is a lot more versatile than Juggernaut at least. So yeah, if you can use Cull Obsidian in a match, you pretty much win basically. So number 16 is Tigra, of course one of the fastest attackers in the entire game. She does have a bit of a skill ceiling to ask, but honestly I don't think she's that tricky to play, especially in Battlegrounds, because realistically all you have to do is counter a few heavy attacks with a heavy attack of your own, or counter a couple of special attacks with a heavy attack. Throw a single special 2 and that is going to nuke most defenders. Obviously she's very versatile, one of the best Serpent counters out there. She can't take Dark Phoenix, which holds her back a little, but other than that, just a very versatile, quick attacker. Not any good on defense though. So at number 15, I am putting Yelena Baloney, who obviously is one of the best defenders out there. If you don't have a champion that has access to Daunted, you're going to have a pretty rough time, because the matchup is going to be very slow with her reducing your attack rating by 60%. People have discovered a lot more counters for her nowadays though, and that's why she's not as high up on the list. Like for example, people have figured out that Gallon takes her really well, Safra, Werewolf by Night takes her decently, and of course There are a few champions which nuke her, like Deadpool X-Force, Silver Samurai if you have him, Jean Grey. Onslaught doesn't quite nuke her, but he's a very good option for her. There's just a lot more options for Yelena nowadays, but she's still very easy to mess up to, and she's pretty underrated on attack as well. So even if your opponent does get a great counter for her, you can use her on attack in some scenarios. At number 14, I am putting Mr. Sinister, and what really tips this guy over the edge for me is his regeneration capabilities. Obviously, he has those bleed debuffs on himself, he takes no damage from them, and this just gives him insane willpower healing. It's pretty much impossible to not finish most Battlegrounds matches with this guy at 100% health. Not many champions are immune to degeneration or resistant to it, so his damage source is really versatile. Not many champions, not many defenders can stop it, and of course he's a really solid defender. Not that good on defense nowadays. There are so many good tech attackers that can nuke him in around 30 to 40 seconds. However, he's so good on offense as well, so he's just a really reliable, versatile, good dual use champion to have in your deck. Now, number 13, I am putting Solvark, mainly because of his defensive capabilities. He is a really annoying, strong defender, where if you don't have a good counter for him, like Carolina, Call Obsidian, Deathless Thanos, you are going to struggle taking this man down. But he's pretty good on attack as well, and most importantly, he is also one of the best Captain Britain counters in the entire game, so that makes him very important to have in your deck. He nukes most mutant defenders, not nearly as well as Jack-O-Lantern, but he's so much better on defense than Jack-O-Lantern will ever be, so I think that really gives him the edge over him. He's just a really good dual use champion. So number 12, I am putting Dark Phoenix, not Shang-Chi. It's just I am not going to use Dark Phoenix on offense, even though she's not terrible on offense, but she is mainly a defender. If you don't get a counter to her, you die. Yeah, you die. You just take unavoidable damage and you die. Elbozo, rip you. You've lost the game basically. She's not that hard to fight really. Her special 2 is not that difficult to dex, and you don't even have to dex it, to be honest. You can just block the first hit of it, then dex the second hit. She does root you during her specials, but obviously it's really not that big of a problem. The only reason she's a good defender is because of that stupid unavoidable damage she deals to you whenever she throws a special attack or whenever she activates her immortality. There are a lot more counters being released for her nowadays though. Nico, Spider-Man India, Hood absolutely destroy her, and if you do have a good counter for her, she gets nuked really fast because she has a small health pool. If it wasn't for that, she'd be higher up on the list. Like if this was made before Nico came out, she would probably be top 5 if not top 3. But as it is, I think this is a good spot for her. Hopefully they release even more counters for her though, because she's stupid and not well designed, and like the only reason she's a good defender is because she does unavoidable damage and not because she's tricky to fight. But nonetheless, before I start ranting about Dark Phoenix all day, number 11 we have Onslaught. Now of course most people are used to fighting Onslaught at this point in the game. However, his AI is super wacky, so like he will just hit you with a light intercept out of nowhere sometimes, so he can still be a very troublesome defender, and of course he is a great attacker. On top of that, he is one of the most versatile champions in the entire game. Not the fastest by any means, but fast enough to win you a lot of Battlegrounds matches whilst covering a lot of ground. I think Onslaught not quite cracking the top 10 really shows how far the game has come recently with releasing OP champions. But yeah, he's sitting at number 11. So at number 10, I am putting Kushala, just because she's so versatile, man, and specifically max Sig Kushala, because when she's at Sig 200, she's like a totally different champion. Her damage, her versatility gets so much more insane because those incinerate debuffs become passives instead. Of course, she's pretty much the best, the fastest, the safest serpent counter out there, but she's so much more than that. The only cosmic defender she struggles against is Dark Phoenix, but she's stupid anyway, so who cares about that. Her regeneration on block just makes her so safe and sustainable to use, and she's a fairly underrated defender. She's not tricky to fight, but you can easily trap a lot of people with Kushala on defense thanks to her bleed immunity, incinerate immunity, and high energy resistance. It's very easy to trap your opponents with her on defense, is what a lot of people don't realize. So number 9, I am putting the bold warrior Okoye. Now, pretty much anything that shocks and bleeds, she nukes. Even Yelena, even with 60% reduced damage, she still nukes Yelena, which is insane. Of course, one of the best Spider-Woman counters out there. She basically nukes anything that you can shock and bleed, but even if your opponent is immune to one of those debuffs, her damage is still fantastic. Like for example, she still smokes Photon even though she's bleed immune. The shocks still slap. She's just a very versatile nuke attacker. The only thing that holds her back is that she's really not good on defense whatsoever, especially because she has a ton of buffs, so Mystic champions can easily take advantage of her. At number 8, I am putting Crossbones, just because I think Crossbones is better than Okoye, because while Okoye has 30% ability accuracy reduction with her ensnare, Crossbones has 100% ability accuracy reduction, and it's the best in the entire game. On top of that, he's one of the fastest champions out there, especially if you get decent Fury RNG. You can nuke a lot of fights in 30 seconds or less. But even if you don't get good Fury RNG, with the worst RNG possible, he still finishes fights in 40 seconds if you play him correctly. He's just such an insane, versatile attacker, but I've shown how insane Crossbones is, so I won't yap about him too much. At number 7 is a synonymous Battlegrounds champion, Starkey. Ever since the game mode released, he has been one of the best attackers for the game mode, and that's never going to change. The fact he doesn't rely on buffs, doesn't rely on debuffs, has access to power drain, has access to a stun lock, it just makes him so incredibly versatile and safe. He does have a small health pool, but that really does not matter when you're just stun locking the opponent and you don't even have to bait out a single special attack because of that power drain and the fact his damage is so insane. He's always been one of the best Battlegrounds attackers. I just cannot imagine that changing unless Kabam actively create defenders to counter Starkey, but that in itself is a very hard task to do. At number 6, I am putting Serpent, who, yes, I still hate. I don't hate him as much as Dark Phoenix or Captain Britain, however, but he's still stupid. Obviously, one of the best defenders in the game, even if you do get an ideal counter for this guy. He's still going to stall in most cases for at least a minute. But he's fairly good on attack as well. Like, this guy has no business being good on attack whilst being the defender he is. Like, he's not fast on attack whatsoever, but he's super versatile because his damage source is cold snap and burst damage, and obviously not many defenders are immune to that. So he's super versatile on attack, not the fastest, but if your opponent does get a Kushala, a Nico, the fact you can turn around and go, haha, I'll just use Serpent on attack is incredibly stupid. So yeah, of course, absolute menace on defense and pretty decent attacker on top of that. It's crazy that he doesn't reach the top 5 though. I don't think he's top 5 just because of how many OP champions there are in the game now. At the number 5 spot, I am putting Jean Grey. Of course, she's a menace on defense. She's super tanky thanks to her force field and the exhaustion debuff she puts on the attacker. So that synergizes with inequity, reduces their attack rating, and the exhaustions themselves reduce their critical attack rating. So when you crit against her, you're not going to be doing much damage at all. On top of that, insane attacker, very fast, very safe, especially thanks to her force field. You can just tank blocked hits for days and not have to worry about a single thing. One of the best dual use champions in the entire game and well deserving of top 5. At number 4, I am putting Spider-Woman, who I do not have. Even on the beta, I have opened so many Titan Crystals trying to pull her. The game does not want to give her to me, which is big sad. But of course, we all know how much of a menace she is on defense. She's getting nerfed. But even when she has been nerfed and the ensnare has been removed from her kit, she will still be OP on defense. Not as strong as she is right now, but still very annoying. But even without taking her defensive potential into account here, she's such a strong attacker. She can even nuke Yelena. Like, obviously not many champions are immune to Power Sting, or not many champions deal with Power Sting, so she's just an incredibly versatile attacker and has some of the most insane damage in the entire game. So of course she's in the top 5. Absolute menace on both attack and defense, and I think she will be for a very long time. So at the number 3 spot, I am putting the feminist Nico, who pretty much shuts off the entire Cosmic class, who have some of the most annoying BS defenders in the entire game. But on top of that, she's a BS annoying defender herself. If you do not have a poison immune champion at the very least, you're probably going to take a bunch of damage. Even if you do have a poison immune champion, she has really annoying AI. She loves to throw her special one and activate her miss, which just slows down the fight. She loves to throw random heavy attacks, which gives her a bunch of power gain. She's just a super annoying defender and a OP attacker. So number 2 is Captain Britain, who is basically the mutant Dark Phoenix, but worse. Like, she does more unavoidable damage than Dark Phoenix, and there's even fewer good counters to her, which is insane, bro. But not only that, not only is she a stupid, annoying BS defender, she's OP on attack as well. Well, not OP, but she's a very strong attacker. Once you use that special 3, all you have to do is use your special 2, and that is going to wipe out most defenders. So even if your opponent does get a great counter to her, like Jack-O-Lantern, Sovok for example, you can just turn around, say nope, haha, and use her on attack. Unlike Dark Phoenix as well, this bitch has the audacity to have a big health pool. Like, no joke, her health pool is almost as big as Deathless Thanos, which is absolutely devious. There's no other way to describe it. So the absolute best Battlegrounds champion in the entire game right now, in my opinion, would be Deathless Thanos. I do think you can make a very strong case for it being Captain Britain, but I'm going to make the safe pick here and put Deathless Thanos. Of course, he is one of the most reliable defenders in the entire game, I would say. He's not hard to fight, but he's pretty much a guaranteed stall, which is very valuable, especially in high tier Battlegrounds. He's also insane on attack, incredibly versatile, very, very fast, ramps up in 2 special ones. He has that regeneration, insane damage. Basically, just an outright monster and the very best dual use champion for Battlegrounds in the entire game right now.